Hi guys, this is Ken. Welcome back to my channel. So I was thinking about this video idea for a while now, and only today did I decided to actually make a video on it. And I was thinking, who actually taught us what a real man is? Because when you think about it from an African perspective, right, especially Southern Africa, I'm Zimbabwean, right, and growing up, hearing phrases like men don't cry, men should be the providers, men should be vulnerable, men should not be emotional. Those phrases are very normative, right? That's something that you hear all the time. And that's something you hear in schools, in your own family, on television, even in church. Like it's everywhere. And I always had an issue with that, truly. I always had an issue with that because imagine telling a 10-year-old boy that you shouldn't be crying. I mean, why is a little boy, a little boy's crying something that we feel we need to stop instead of trying to understand, you know? So it never really sat right with me. And also because I grew up with women, right? I was my after my stepdad left, right? I think if you if you're on TikTok, you saw the video about my stepdad which blew up. He was an extremely abusive person, right? When he left, my mom left me and my little sister, right, by herself. And growing up with that, she was, I mean, when society looks at women, right, they don't think, oh, provider. But when it comes to single women, they are essentially everything. They carry both the feminine and the masculine because roles that are traditionally seen as masculine, they take those roles, right? They provide, they protect, right? Their family, their children. And I grew up with that. And also, I'll make it a point that my own dad was actually a really great man. He was a really good man and was not someone who would shame me for crying or tell me that me being sad is not manly. I will say that. I will say that I got lucky. I was extremely lucky and fortunate to have someone like that actually be my dad. And it's said that he passed on, right, way too early. So yeah, when I think about those phrases, I see that they do way more harm to men because society does not truly recognize that someone can be strong and also vulnerable. Someone can can be protective, whilst also being emotionally open, and that someone can be masculine and also gentle. Those things are not mutually exclusive, but society, um, it's almost. I don't wanna I don't wanna be to burden this way too much, but it all eventually just goes back to our patriarchy. Zimbabwe is a patriarchal society, right? And some of the awful ideologies of patriarchy in the is the belief in the subservience of women. And so when we look at that, men and boys when they're being raised, they're not taught to be masculine. They're only taught to not be feminine. They're just socialized to not be women, to not be like women, to not cry because those things are associated with women. Not cry, not show emotions, be practical, head over heart. And those things are not inherently wrong or bad, but there is a balance between being emotionally grounded and emotionally repressed because you should be able to express your emotions without them controlling you. And most times, because a lot of us grow up being told that showing emotion is a sign of weakness, we suppress that. And sometimes, and also another thing that I've realized that because being in pain and being sad and being vulnerable is shamed and is heavily judged, when you look at that in the same vein, anger is not outrightly shamed in the same way as being vulnerable or being in pain or just showing that, oh, I am sad right now, which is something that is so messed up when you really think about it. Because why are we comfortable with someone showing anger with someone showing pain, right? It's almost socially acceptable for a man to get angry before a man cries. And I actually saw this more recently because, like I said earlier on, like in a previous video, I did a little TikTok video on my stepdad and the abuse that he has put me and my mom through, and how a couple weeks ago he assaulted my mom and little sister. And the majority of people were making fun of me for crying were men, right? Because they were socially conditioned to think that being that crying is a sign of weakness, and they don't really care about the context because it's something that is so rooted, that is so deeply ingrained in their minds because of society, because of socialization. So I find it truly sad. I find it truly sad. And when I think about this, I always think, if I have a son, at this the ideals I want him to grow up with, do I want a child who who thinks him being open with his emotions, him crying, or him openly telling his children that, oh, I love you, things like that, right? Being emotionally open, emotionally expressive, and vulnerable, that those things are bad. No, that's not something I would want, because I, for one, I mean, I'm sensitive, I cry. I mean, I'm not ashamed of that. I freaking cry. And I don't even just cry with my own problems, I freaking cry with everything. I mean, I see an ambulance and I'm close to freaking crying. Someone tells me something sad, or someone dies, and I don't even know them personally, and I just see their relative who is like emotionally distressed. I suddenly feel sad too. I suddenly feel like crying as well. So, and as far as I know, I do not have female genitalia. So clearly, our genitalia does not detect our emotions. So someone being a woman does not mean they should be crying all the time, and someone being a man does not mean they should be stoic. They should be a freaking a freaking brick wall, not feel anything. That's not how it works. And that is something that in society, as a society, we need to be more open to actually discussing, especially men. And it's not really anyone's responsibility to help you regulate your own emotions, right? But at the same time, unfortunately, we have people, both men and women, who shame men for showing emotion and for being vulnerable, and for not creating an environment where someone can feel emotionally safe to do that. And yes, I admit it's not anyone's responsibility to do that. But if it is someone you love, then I think it's perfectly okay and reasonable for you to want them to be emotionally safe enough with you, and for you to not use their emotions and their vulnerabilities against them. So yeah, this is such a broad subject, and I could go on for days. But yeah, I just want a society where any person of any gender can just cry, and it not be severely judged, and it become this huge, huge, become this. Uh, it is really sad, and for it to become this huge definition of who they are as a person. By someone crying, they are now seen as weak. Someone showing vulnerability, someone saying, "Oh, I love you," and they're saying, "Oh, like this one is a no." I almost said, the other version of a cat. Yeah, like someone crying is that word, the P word. So yeah, we just need to do better as a people. We need, yeah, we need to emotionally regulate ourselves, and to realize that our gender, our genitalia does not have a bearing on how strong we should be, because they are absolutely strong women just as they are strong men. And strength does not come from you not crying. Strength comes from you allowing yourself to feel, and also not making it everyone's problem in a way. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it. You need to be able to feel your emotions and also regulate yourself so that your emotions don't become something that is destructive. And that is what happens when you don't emotionally regulate. You take out your emotions from other people, and now they are not being expressed in a healthy way, and they become dangerous. You know. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. So yeah, do have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.